tips for this meeting. So first of all, it's good practice to please mute yourself throughout the meeting unless you plan to speak. That's to minimize background noise and make presenters' tasks easier. Then a reminder that we have interpretation in Georgian today. So speakers will speak mostly in English, but if you wish to follow this meeting in Georgian language, at the bottom of your Zoom window, there is an icon with interpretation written on it. If you click on it, you can select the Georgian language. And also, if you plan to speak, please select the off channel in the interpretation button. So that's, again, not to have background noise. Throughout the meeting, we will have many opportunities for interaction. If at any point you wish to ask a question and intervene, please raise your hand. And then we will find the right time to give the floor to those who intend to contribute. Thank you. Perfect. I see Cisnami is joining this meeting as well. Good morning, Cisnami. Can you hear us? Perfect. Good morning, Cisnami. I see you joined. Thank you for joining. We have, I think we can start. Most of the participants have joined. So Cisnami, perhaps if you want to just give a couple of words of introduction and welcome the participants, then we can get started with the real content of today's webinar. Just one thing, you are mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry once again for being late, but due to some technical reasons, it was just. მოგესალმებით ყველას. დღეს ჩვენ ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი შეხვედრა გვაქვს და მინდა ძალიან დიდი სიამოვნებით მივესალმო ჩვენი დღევანდელი
And I have a pleasure to welcome the organizers of this meeting, OECD, and our expert, and all members of the working group. Briefly, let me describe how we got to this point. Actually, today, we almost finalized the action plan, and we will be discussing the budgeting related to it. As you might be aware, we were supposed to start working on the strategy early in 2020, but because of the pandemic, the dates shifted, and therefore the first meeting was held last September as a public dialogue. And we were lucky that the previous strategy, which was also developed with the help of OECD, so this experience helped to build on because we had a good contribution from our international partners on the previous strategy, and also it was followed up with the monitoring. And this Interpol Index of 2020, so it gave a comprehensive data, and in September, we picked upon the priority directions, and it was presented in the late September last year. I also want to mention that we tried our best. I mean, the whole team, which was assigned by the ministerial order, we tried our best to do in the shortest possible time to start the analyzing the situation, needs, determination, and highlighting the priorities. So before we started the work, there was a presentation for the working group. So I'm giving now, sharing the background of this program. So during the presentation by the ministry, we detailed and trained all team members about the intentions of our government, a new decree, and we had to follow it in all policy papers which were worked on. It was followed up by the action plan, which was based on the situation analysis and highlighting issues, pinpointing issues, the factors contributing to emergence of this issue. So we came to a conclusion that all priority direction initiated by OECD were important for Georgia, and it was shared by all agencies. So our work continued in this spirit. And then we agreed the logic framework, and we had several rounds of discussing the draft strategy and framework. And after this, we started working on the action plan, which is covering 2 years, and in parallel, we get inputs from our experts, which were very valuable recommendations how to have budgeting in our action plan. Today, we are discussing the final costing webinar. On the first meeting, we didn't have yet the action plan, and we focused on the previous strategies activities, but on the second meeting, we already got the recommendations, and we discussed the primary draft of the activities, which were supposed to take place in the frame of the new strategy. And now I'm happy to highlight that the action plan is finalized, and this meeting is also dedicated to the costing. Maybe it took longer than I intended, but I wanted to get everything inside. Once again, I want to thank the organizers and the members of the working team who are very diligent and active. Thank you once again, and I wish all of us a successful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sistami. Indeed, you did most of the background, you provided most of the background, so I will be very, very brief. I just want to say a couple of additional things. First, huge thanks to all of you who are participating to this work, and that contributed to also prepare this specific meeting. Just to put things in context, this is basically a simplified timeline of the project so far. Indeed, this is the third dedicated webinar to the costing aspect of the strategy, which is a very important additional element to what we did in the previous strategy round. We're very happy that the ministry and the government engage in this exercise, because it does make the strategy document, the action plan, the log frame, a much more robust set of documents that will guide SME policy in the next 5 years. So it is a detailed exercise, but it does help all implementing agencies and bodies to do a better job at designing and delivering programs to support SME policy. So real quick, this kind of meeting closes the work stream on the SME strategy per se, but then I wanted to also inform you that we are also about to start an additional a work stream specifically on supporting the digitalization of SMEs with the ministry, which will,
business initiative
into one single publication that we will put together throughout the next 2-3 months, and that will be the basis for discussion at the peer review of Georgia towards the end of the year at the OECD Eurasia Competitiveness Roundtable. This is a platform that Georgia has already used and to discuss and showcase its reform progress with other countries in the Eastern Partnership and with the OECD members. So it will be the third time for Georgia to be participating as in the spotlight of the OECD Eurasia Competitiveness Roundtable. And so this is to remind you that all of the work that we are doing together feeds into this process. I think I can stop here for now, and I'll leave the floor to Yanis, who will run today's meeting and will discuss all the draft costing that you've submitted, and we will moderate also the discussion and the exchange with you. So thanks again, and I think we can get started. Yanis, please.
Yes, good morning to everyone, or good afternoon already in Georgia. So I think we'll just go, I mean, we have received the draft action plan and selected something like 20 measures from it to be discussed today. So the way we will do it, we will show the measure or the activity on the slide, and we'll ask the representatives of the institution who is behind this measure or the responsible institution to briefly explain, especially how costing was done, but maybe also a little bit about the measure. So if you can go, to slide 3, we can. I suggest we start right away. We ordered the activities by the numbers, so there's no special message behind how we ordered them. So the first one is from Ministry of Economy. It's training on this SME test. It's quite clear the measure, one training in 21, one training in 22. With this, we also received how the cost was calculated in the Excel file, which is the budgeting instrument of your handbook on preparation of policy documents. So maybe, Francesco, you can show the next slide. Yes, and I would invite representative from the ministry to explain not only to me but to everyone how you did this. What were the assumptions and so on.
მოგესალმებით. მე გახლავართ თია ლოლაძე. წარმოადგენს საქართველოს ეკონომიკისა და მდგრადი განვითარების სამინისტროს ეკონომიკური პოლიტიკის
Development Economic Policy Department, and one of our major activity, and which is very important, especially at this stage, reinstitutionalization, and especially for small and medium enterprise SMS test introduction. Therefore, this is considered as a priority, and we had a budget line, and we are going to work on this issue in the future as well to improve the skills of staff members. And here is a number of trainings which will be carried out in 2021, and we offered, how we calculated the cost. First of all, I would like to tell you that we studied the existing practice, how financially these projects are calculated, and we at this stage, we have got the picture, 4 days training. One training will last for 4 days, and participants will be from Ministry of Economy, from Central Staff Department, as well as from different agencies. So approximately 15 persons per training. And therefore, we calculated the whole cost of this activity, proceeding from the fact that this training is carried out by international experts. And of course, we have got to pay quite high salary. In addition, we will involve local experts who will be part of this process. And therefore, we just envisage, participation of local experts and foreign experts, and with these respective budgetary allocations. So you said that there is, line for accommodation, food, lunch expenses. I would like to underline that this training, will be held online regime. So here, well, we will not have such, these expenses. Only online platform cost and payment, or a salary fee for local expert as well as international expert, and also cost of interpretation, simultaneous interpretation. So cost for the one training session, which would last for 4 days, as I said, this will be the figure you will see, in national currency, GEL. So, well, this, according to the rate, exchange rate, and you see this cost about 16,160 Georgian lari. And let me add one detail, please. So it could be some mechanical mistake. Well, just switch on microphone, please. So let me add one detail. Maybe there is a mistake here. Well, this training will not be held in 20. Well, we will organize 2 trainings per year. Let me clarify, 2 trainings per year. And while training will be added, and we'll talk about 2 trainings. But here, this is cost for 1 training, which would last for 4 days. And most likely it will be held in autumn in online regime. So I think if you have got some additional question, I don't know, maybe let's move to, and maybe we'll have also some questions later on, if you would allow.
Yes, of course. I mean, I didn't. Thank you for the presentation. I didn't say before, but I think it's important for everyone to try to follow what we discuss on each measure, even if you are not from the ministry who is responsible for this, because by looking at different examples, you also learn, and you may have a similar example in your ministry, or you may have it sometime later. So it's I would really encourage everyone to try to be with us all the time.
Well, if you need some more details, here we'll inform you if you've got any questions, if you want to know more detailed information. Of course, well, so in 2021, when, trainings will be held, so number of training, one training was held 4 days long, and therefore with 15 participants, and this training was, just without any additional cost. So, and with, as far as, just conference room, so, and 660 lari. In reality, this is money to be paid for platform, and it was paid by our donor organization, by webinars. When it comes to other costs, so do you think I should share my desktop?
I have one question here, because for year 22, yes, you have this amount of 32,000 lari, both in year, both as the amount and then as gap.
Well, this will be cost for 2 training sessions, which will be, just held in 2022. So the whole total cost will be 32,320. In 2022, we'll hold 2 training sessions. Well, let me add, what is the question all about? So they've got a certain amount of money, just from other sources for 2021, 2022, and, well, organization which will carry out this event. This is organization which will do this job in 2021. As far as 2022 is concerned, we don't don't know which organization will carry out this seminar. Yet I've got a question. Since amount in 2022, we don't know which organization or which donor will be funding this. And here, should we have, just this in this table or not?
Yes, that's exactly what my question was about. Thank you. I suggest that when you don't know yet where the money, who will be financing, then you should have this amount, 32,000 for 22, for the year 22, only in the column for the gap. So you have it in the budget. It means this is your cost. But then you put it under gap because you don't yet know who will finance this. And then from this column, when you have the amount, you should delete it there. Because in the amount of financing is only what is already agreed.
Okay, we'll correct it.
And this is in some other actions as well. Okay, thank you very much. I think we can go to the next one. Thank you, Francesco. This is also training. And if we have a representative from this Rural Development Agency, I would invite you, of course, to explain a little bit. But my main question here is, because you plan to train your own employees, is this really only administrative costs? So you'll do it all with your own resources, no rooms, no translation, no equipment, no external experts? Or how is it? What does it mean, administrative costs? Please.
Good morning. I'm Lasho Tsivtsivadze from the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture. In this case, we see the Rural Development Agency's activity, which is focusing on enhancement of the agency and the training of their employees. It's about 190. So about 190 employees will be trained during 2021-22. The budget, a part of the budget, which is here, will be funded by as administrative cost. So it will come from the budget, which will be shared and earmarked for training. Additionally, what other questions do you have, sir, about this issue?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, yes, I would just say, that the principle here is, if I understand it will be paid from the budget of the Rural Development Agency. But if there will be any costs that will be paid to outside people or services, so if they will hire a room, for example, for this training, or maybe an expert, can be a Georgian expert, of course. So somebody who is not working in the agency or in the ministry. So if anything will be paid outside, to outside service providers, then it should be here as a cost, and then the budget should be the source for that, So it would still tell us it's covered by the budget, but the cost would be seen, So if this is all be prepared by people who are working for the agency and maybe know these things already, and they will explain to their colleagues, then it's fine. Then it's only administrative cost. But as soon as you are, like we saw the previous example, paying for some, I don't know, rooms, experts, maybe coffee breaks, then this is the cost because you paid to somebody outside of the budget. And then you also say in the source of funding, yeah, this is covered from the budget of the agency. You just put in the amount and the code of the budget line, But you make it visible. So even if it's, yeah, okay. Good, but this is the only advice I had. Otherwise, it's clear. And, thank you for presenting.
Thank you very much, sir, for your comment. And since it's very important to make it clear in the budgetary lines, so how important it is to give the breakdown of the costs, specifically for the expert, how much we pay, and etc., etc. So do you think it is important to break it down, or we can calculate per capita what will be the cost per one trainee if we take 90 people who are supposed to be trained? So what will be the average cost for, let's assume it's $300 per a person. So how far shall we go with breaking it down, sir? Can you tell me?
It's okay. You can use this is what we call unit cost. So if you have some data, on which, or assumptions on which you can say cost per one participant is 300, for example, then it's okay. You don't need. I mean, it's one method. The other method would be to go like we saw the previous example. The different elements of costs like rooms, experts, and so on. But if you can say the cost is 300 per participant, then it's also okay. Yeah.
Sorry, can I interrupt?
Yes, please.
I prefer in Georgian.
Hello, I'm from the government administration. Eventually, when your strategy will come in, it will be assessed against our criteria. So whenever it is an administrative cost, you have no liability to break it down. But the question is, since we are having training, you may need a space to hire a room, a trainer. If it is your officer who trains the people, that's one story. But the main question is, if we need an outside expert, it's not an administrative cost, or you may have to print out printing materials. So you will have to break it down. If you indicate it as an administrative cost and it is confirmed that it is really administrative, you don't have to break it down. Oh, thank you very much for your clarification. I want to add, my assumption is that a consultant, it will be hard for me to tell you who is our expert. It will be hard for me to anticipate who will be our expert next year and how much will this person charge, or how to determine what will be the cost, the fee per hour. So it will be hard for me to forecast, but you have to approximate. You have, based on your previous experience, what's an average normal fee for a consultant. So if it is an administrative cost, we don't need to break it down. But if we need to bring someone from outside, we'll have to indicate it. And so in our,
may I just add,
we would add it to the gap.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wanted to say we are talking a little bit about two things here. One thing is what goes into the table, and then of course if it's administrative cost, so cost of your own staff basically, and if you're having the training in your own building, then this you just say administrative cost and you don't break it down. But if as soon as something is paid, also Nico said this, as soon as something is paid to outside providers, you have to put this in the table. Then the question of breakdown is how much you need to break it down to calculate it. So if you can use the cost per participant and somehow, explain your assumption, how you came to this 300 per participant, it's okay. It's one of the methods, And if you don't know the fee, I mean, this is what you do. And for example, you cannot know exactly the fee, but you know approximately how much it costs from past experience. It's also a little bit tricky. I mean, the unit costs may go down if you have, or up, depending on how many participants you include in one training. But it's always an estimation, So if you don't know exactly the cost, how much the expert will charge, you can make an assumption, based on what experts have charged in the past or have charged to others, and then maybe the government administration will ask you questions, but you'll be able to explain, because in the action plan it will only be this line, but you need to have your calculation so that you can explain it when they ask you how you came to the numbers. And there you use the breakdown, which basically you need to use to estimate the cost. And then you have this choice. You can do by participants, you can do like we saw the previous example. Okay. If we are all clear, then we can maybe move to the next one.
Yes, it's okay, but let me clarify one thing. So for future meeting, I will be more clear. Will we need an outside consultant provider? So we will try to have the estimates of the costs for future. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is the framework for evaluating the impact of state programs, which will be implemented by Enterprise Georgia. We only have this full amount, so maybe it would be good to hear a little bit how you came to this amount and how you plan to do this development of this framework. Do we have someone? Yes, please.
I'm Elena Mendaza. I'm representing Enterprise Georgia. This activity is provided by our donor, GIZ. We are developing an impact assessment methodology. The donor is hiring a company and a local consultant who together with us are working on this issue. This amount came from GIZ. They are providing it, so binding it for this project. Can I add to this? Maybe so. GIZ is not mentioned here, so it's a mechanical error. Omission. So if you saw GIZ, it would be clear. So we should assume that GIZ is here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, for me, I think it's okay. So it's an outsourced activity. There is a donor paying for it. There is a company implementing it. So this is what the budget they have put aside for this activity. So I don't think you can do much more with this. Any comments from the government administration? Are you also okay with this?
Yes, I'm
because
okay.
I know you will be checking this at the end, so I need
yes.
to confirm.
I have a little comment, sorry, and
please.
I will say in Georgia.
Madam Cisnami, you mentioned that our partner is GIZ. I want to make it clear. When a plan is coming in for consideration, the partner organizations cannot be GIZ. So only the government agencies shall be indicated as partner. I want to make this clear to avoid the misunderstanding. I meant that, so it's just an omission. GIZ was in the partner organizations line and not in the source line. I understand. So according to our procedure, the partner organization can be only a government agency and not outside organization. Please keep it in mind. It can be GIZ, only a government agency. Just my comment. Yeah, it's a very good clarification. I just try to explain that it's a mistake. Thank you.
Okay, we are all clear on this now. It also applies to some other activities where donors are mentioned as partner institutions as well. Okay, so we can go on. I think Francesco. The next one is on the competition agency. It's training again. Now, it seems that
Can I answer your question? I was working on it, and we were working in the costing for with competition agents. So I can answer your questions if you have any, sir.
I mean, yes, thank you, and welcome. My question would be, we saw in the first measure. I mean, it would be basically the size of the cost, because we saw in the first activity today cost of one training. Okay, 4-day training, 16,000. Here you have 20,000 for 2 trainings. But from this I didn't see how big trainings these are. How many people, how many days, and so on. And then when I'm looking at this, I try to compare, cross activities. So maybe a little bit of explanation. And yeah, please.
When we feel that this table, it's very detailed. They are 1-day trainings, and there will be 2 of them in 2021. So each of them only for 1 day. So our approach is different because the trainings will be they will be physical trainings, and in the cost, it's not only the coffee breaks, it will be outside Tbilisi, but also transportation, accommodation, hiring rooms, conference rooms. So these meetings won't be in Tbilisi. It's not online, it's a live meeting. They are planned for autumn, as we said. And based on our previous experience, as you emphasized, and market research, it's a detailed cost. What will be breaks cost per capita, hiring rooms, services, and the whole cost of this event is about 20,700. It's 1-day training in 2021, 2 such trainings in 2021.
Okay, thank you. There is also this thing that we already addressed before. So if you don't yet know who will be the donor, then this should only be under the gap. It shouldn't be under source of funding because you don't have the source yet. Yes.
Yes, we will keep it in mind. Thank you very much. As I was told, there are negotiations pending with a potential donor, and in short possible time, we will be clear who the donor is. But in the meantime, we will keep it in the gap.
Can
I ask a question? Because my colleague from the Ministry of Economy was talking, but it's not only about the competition agency, but it also referring to all our working groups. And since we have the government administration as well, I want to ask this question. Based on the previous experience and practices, in in any case, it's still approximated amount. And all our working group members and agencies got a logical question. Of course, Tia was actively involved, that's why she appeared as a spokesperson, but there are also other agencies and competition. If they have any comment or question, they can announce it. But I have a certain information to share with you, and also a question. In all working groups, we're a bit scared. All of us are scared because since it is approximated, it's not earmarked in the budget, and we are facing pandemic and other challenges. If it is in the budget, you are from the government, Mr. Yanis from Slovenia, and you know that sometimes even budgetary lines are changed. So my question is, since we have this approximated estimates in the action plan, will it cause any problems? Even after we find a donor, maybe it will take more, and this amount which is envisaged here is not enough. Will it entail any problems? And working group members are thinking about this, and also with the government administration. So I want to talk directly to the government administration and not by going through other levels. I want to make it clear that we are scared that since it is approximated, may we face any issues if the real cost is higher. Thank you. Let me explain it. As I guess, your question is about what will be the final budget. Yes, the problem which we are facing now does not mean that it shall prevent us from putting approximated estimates into the table. Of course, it's the privilege of the Ministry of Finance, but we are just checking the compliance with the standards. So it's the responsibility of the Ministry of Finance. So I suggest you talk to the Ministry of Finance. However, my comment from the government administration is that since this is the action plan for 2 years, we should still put into the table the approximated estimates, and then we can make adjustments. So we still have to put there our assumptions. If you need further clarification. Yes, I just wanted you to say this. I wanted other people, because I knew you talked to me and I knew about this. And now I wanted others also to hear it from you. Yes, I want to ask all other group members, if you have any questions, please write to me directly. Because what we need is a high quality document, which is complying with all standards. Thank you.
Thank you both for this discussion and clarification. My answer would be exactly the same. But I would also like to add something, how you deal with this. Because we all know that even for this year and then for next year, it's always an estimation of cost. Not only in these action programs, also in the budget, you know. And what helped really in my practice in Slovenia, when I was not in the Ministry of Finance, but in your position, for example, coordinating documents or my own budget of my institution, is to have a very good communication with the budget department in the Ministry of Finance, even more precisely with the person who is responsible for your institution in the budget department. Because if they know how you made these calculations, you know, then you are, in principle, able to go back to them and say, well, this will cost a little bit more, you know, or just to explain to them. And sometimes you save something also somewhere, and then you can use this money for something else, you know. These are these little shifts within the budget which you do during the year. I'm not talking about getting additional money from Ministry of Finance, although that is sometimes also possible during the year, you know, when they see that some money will not be spent somewhere, they can sometimes reallocate it. And if you are transparent, so if you explain already now very clearly what are your assumptions, then you can talk to them again when it turns out that, you know, you cannot, for example, get an expert for a lower fee, or that maybe you have a big interest for this training. And I understand, because this is private sector, you need to maybe go outside and have accommodation provided and so on. I mean, accommodation, a room, and so on. But you know, if you have 100 applications instead of 20, then it's a different thing. So you need to be very much in touch, not you, Cisnami, maybe, but each of the implementers for their actions, you know, to be in touch with the budget when it's paid from the budget. In this case, it's hoped to be paid by donors, but when it's paid from the budget, to make sure they understand also how you came to these numbers, so that then later, if something happens unexpected, you can talk with them and look for solutions together. You know, this I think is crucial for this. We always, you know, adjust and accommodate along the way, not only with this one measure, but with everything that you do as a ministry or agency. And then sometimes you can find, very often actually, you can find solutions. And this brings me, you know, to another point, which is a lot of things are not seen from these tables. You know, this is the tables that we're taking from the action plan, and this is how the action plan will look, because action plans are, you know, nowadays these big tables. But when there are some serious uncertainties with costs of some measures, maybe you can explain it somewhere, you know, like you write an annex where people can explain, you know, we don't really know how this is really a rough estimate, if they want to do so, you know. We'll come to cases like this, you know, which because there's no room in the action plan to explain this whole story behind when it's important, you know. I'm not saying that you should now explain each line of the costing, but where there is something important you want to pay attention to, I mean, you want to put attention on, then maybe, you know. We have a hand up at Loladze from the agency, I think. No?
I would like to clarify one issue, what you meant. With respect to the budget, indeed, well, we have got to be very careful. And so, when talking about budget, but what was a question from my colleagues when it comes to donors? And first of all, well, if we don't know who are the donor, and Thea very well explained all details, I think, you know, how they calculate how calculation was made with respect to this tender. But what was a question? Okay, maybe we don't know specifically who will be the donor. And donors have different tariffs, indeed. Well, when it comes to donors, you know, this gap, this amount of money, well, when donor would look at this and would say, we can spend more. And, well, and we have less in this gap. So, well, in fact, you answered to this question, but this should be this information on the gap. Cisnami, a short comment, if I may. Well, I want to ask this question. Well, this is rather practical question, I would say. I've got one question. We, as an agency which would carry out monitoring and evaluation, we face very serious dilemma. We have budget in advance, and when it comes to evaluation of performance, if we know that SME strategy, it was not only, you know, just document to be presented to the government, but this is a document which is linked to very important projects, including budgetary assistance, and we are trying to
describe what was a budget and how these components were carried out. And today we're talking about, well, in 2021 we can envisage, the trainings will be held in online regime, but nobody knows what will happen in 2022. So in reality, it could be online trainings or not. So it could be changed, and meetings which are not planned as an online meeting could be held in online. We don't know. So and this would change budget substantially. So tariffs of experts could be different indeed. When we have got an obligation before the governmental administration and international organizations, once there could be a serious gap in terms of budget, and it's natural. What could be done? What should be done? How could it be a problematic for us? This is very important issue for us indeed, and it's very important, platform to agree upon this issue. What is the attitude of government administration? What is the approach of just donor organizations? Thank you very much. I think my question or concern I have raised is quite crystal clear. Thank you very much.
Yes, before we go on, let me just add one thing. We talked about it last time also, and I think it's important. When you approach donors or the Ministry of Finance, when you're talking about the budget, you need to have an estimation of cost. Because you need to, for example, in this case that we are looking now, you need to be able to, when you talk to the donors, to tell them we need approximately 20,000 for this training and then 31 next year. Now, when you talk to them, they will also ask you how you came to these numbers. Maybe at the end, they will give you 25. Maybe they will give you a little bit more. And then you will, based on the money that you can receive, finalize the plan for the training. How many people you want to involve, how long, can you afford an expert? Can you afford 2 experts or only 1, and so on, But it's important to have an estimation now, and then monitoring was mentioned, and then in monitoring, it's also important to report on how much it really costed and who actually provided the money. So, for example, in this case, it's possible that it will happen that you will say, we only made 1 training instead of 2 because we didn't get enough support from donors, or we got it too late, So all these things happen, but they have to be transparent. So you need a plan, you need an estimation of cost, then you need to find financing. In this process, you sometimes, reduce the costs because you have to, and then you also need to report on what it really happened. Then you can have the full cycle. But let's go on now. Cisnami, thank you and everyone for this. It was, I think, a really important discussion for everyone. Maybe now we can go a little bit quicker. Well, let's see. We have a big one. I put together 2 measures of the Office of the Business Ombudsman on one slide because they are both a little bit similar. So one is about consultation meetings, and one is about awareness raising campaigns. We have the figures. So my question would mainly be, how was this calculated? What you plan? What is behind these numbers? So please, if we have the ombudsman here, or somebody from the institution, of course.
Well, let me offer you a short comment. Well, because we talked about the trainings and we worked together and we had consultations with the Business Ombudsman Office, and this Excel table, which is broken down in rather great detail, very detailed breakdown, and we would share this Excel file with you. And well, in the first case, we envisaged 5 training, so 1 day long, and a number of participants, 35, and therefore, just a break, lunch, or a coffee break cost is envisaged indeed. And, also like hall, this conference room, also the market prices have been taken, and we got the figure you see. And I would like to tell you that behind every single activity, we have very detailed breakdown, just calculation. So once again, the point of reference were the market prices or prices which were, just spent during the recent events. So if you want more detailed information, we would provide you our Excel file and Excel table.
Yes, I mean, look, if you are from the government administration as well, yes. But, so if you checked it already, I mean, then I don't need to recheck it. I'm actually happy to hear that you are doing this. So, but if you have any specific questions, or while we are providing this support, and it doesn't end today, I mean, it's the last webinar, but Cisnami or you can always come back to me with some questions when it's not clear how you do it. But I mean, when you have some questions, basically. But if there is an Excel table behind this, then I mean, it's fine. You're checking it to see. Yeah. I would maybe just.
Well, it is really very detailed, just breakdown. We have a figure how many brochures we are going to print, price per brochure. So very detailed information, and we can provide this information to donor organization, and there will be no additional question marks. So detailed this information. Anytime, there could be some changes in prices, but just very slight change, not substantial one. And these figures are very close to the real cost we're going to incur when it comes to these activities. And there is not likely that government would have any problem whatsoever with these figures. So
okay, I mean, one thing I would recommend is then when you are done with this, I mean, Excel costing in Excel, very detailed. Then also have another look at how indicators are explained here. Because in the version I got, it says number of conducted meetings, but it should be how many meetings, like in other cases. And with awareness campaign, it's a little bit more complicated because maybe you don't want to put in, the number of brochures, the number of meetings, the number of everything, or maybe, something to see. I mean, it should be about the output, how many outputs you plan to provide, what type of outputs, so awareness, so it shouldn't be the number like the word number, but it should be the number like the figure, which tells me, approximately what you will do for the meetings. I mean, I'd be looking for number of meetings for awareness campaign. They consist of many things, but maybe you put in the 1 or 2 or 3 which are most important for the awareness campaign. If it's brochures, if it's I don't know what, but they know and because you have the more detailed plan. So the indicators here, were also how they were phrased was one reason why I was thinking, what is behind these numbers really. Okay, yeah. So I think we can go on. We are. Yeah, as the last one from Business Ombudsman, which is the study of legislation, a study of the impact of legislation, and basically I have similar questions, like why 10,000, why not 15, why not 5, and again because we have the gap, is this already secured, or are there still talks going on with the donors? If you know anything about it.
Yeah,
well, a short comment, if I may. Well, just Georgian legislation study the impact of Georgian legislation on small and medium business is one of the major priority of our department, and it's crucially important to pay due attention to this component under this activity. Well, yes, we engage in activities of business ombudsman, and they will serve as experts in the evaluation of impact of Georgian legislation on SME. And we've counted just working hours also, how many hours they will provide consultation or how much it will cost, and altogether in the course of 1 year. 20-hour consultation, by business ombudsman expert, and basic price of this service we have taken, and altogether, it amounts to 10,000 lari. It could be changed, of course, depending on how many RIA they will participate. This is approximate figure, not very precise. Well, it depends on the how many RIA will be carried out per day. Once again, in fact, well, here this calculation is quite detailed, I would like to assure you. Well, this is approximate price, not very precise. Well, it may be corrected a little bit, but not substantially. There won't be, of course, 100,000 or 1,000 gel, approximately 10,000 or something like that. Well, now, so just when it comes to indicators, and I would like to pay attention to the issue relating to deadline. I don't know whether it is envisaged in action plan. So 21, 22, while this is, just years of implementation, and we'll divide this into quarters, just certain activities will be carried out, let's say, in the third quarter of 2022. So it's very important to have all activities, broken down in accordance with the different quarters. Let me offer the comments when it comes to deadlines. Of course, we'll have not by quarters, but by months. So 9th territory months or 12th months, or in September or December, we have got such, just a plan. Indeed. So now it is more detailed, not in accordance with the quarter, but according to the months. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand. So it's more an ongoing activity, but that's fine. Then maybe sometimes, we put in the action plans then simply ongoing instead of, because the title of the column, at least in English, that I got is really the deadline, And then for me, just from reading this, it wasn't totally clear. It is now with your explanation, whether this is a study like a paper, or studying, the impact. And now you explain it's actually you asked the ombudsman for suggestions, for recommendations. You asked them for opinion with new regulation. Maybe you asked them for opinion on old regulation and recommendations what to be changed to be more friendly to businesses. That's all fine. But then it's really an ongoing activities, and also the number of recommendations then is actually a good indicator, I think. So. But you see how much you can do, with this amount in 20 hours. And then you see how it goes. I don't know the whole real system in Georgia, so it's probably only one part of it. Okay, there is somebody trying to comment, I think. Please go on. Oh, okay. Okay. So do we have anything more to discuss about this? No. Okay, Francesco, if you have anything to say from your side while you are listening and clicking, please go on. Yeah. Yeah, so we are now in the middle, at the halfway through the measures. So let's continue. So this is Ministry of Justice or Justice Training Center. It's I would like to hear a little bit more about this measure. Basically, it wasn't really clear to me what it involves. So if there is somebody who can provide some explanation, please.
მოგესალმებით. სალომე ნატროშვილი გახლავართ. მე იუსტიციის სამინისტროს წარმოვადგენ. როგორც თქვენ
თავადაც Ministry of Justice, as you see in this table, who is a funding organization? This is USAID, good governance program would be funding this event or this activity. Well, this amount was calculated. We don't know, frankly. One thing what I can say for sure, well, back to this activity. Well, as it is written, it means, the selection of insolvency practitioners. So, and it's very important activity, and also creation of the necessary legal and logistical base for in the right register. So this is also a very important activity. Well, which needs to be addressed. So both these issues, just logistical issues and legal issues are important. Where examinations will be held, so what modules will be used during examinations. So of course, all these are call for a certain cost and expenses. We would organized unified register, and we need special software program. At our center, we did not have similar program prior. We don't have such soft, for the unified register, and we'll have to start work from the scratches. And therefore, I think this amount of money is quite just logical and realistic to do this job. So, again, I think this is quite large, realistic number to address this issue, selection of insurance practitioners.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be honest. When I saw this first, I thought, well, this might be a little bit high number on the cost, compared to the name of the activity. But then I looked at the indicators, and I was thinking, this can be a lot of things, because exactly when you say conditions, for example, for including these practitioners in the unified register, then I started wondering, well, do you actually need to develop the software for this? Or is there already a register which works and you just need to, somehow provide the labor force to include them in the procedure, but not the actual software, And then also, legal conditions. Is this a bylaw? Is this a, regulation? And then when I saw, of course, elaborating the training course model, it's something which, is not only the selection, it's also the training model, and then the whole assignment thing and qualification test. So it's quite a lot. And I understand that there is an activity from the USAID which will work on this, and they have estimated their budget that they need this much for this, which is fine with me. But maybe you could try to, these output indicators, to make them a little bit clearer, because it seems to me now you have a lot of things combined in one line, Maybe it's better to have two lines more, but like you presented now, there's a regulation, there's a software, there's a training course. You know what I mean? A little bit clearer. I was just a little bit wondering, why the cost is not lower, but now I understand, so just maybe be a bit clearer.
Let me clarify. You said that to make it clearer, we need to break down to the indicators. That's what you meant, to highlight different components.
That's what I suggested, because you must understand that I'm in a position when actually all I read is the draft action plan, which may sound a little bit stupid, but on the other hand, when you finalize your action plan and you share it with, I don't know, European Union, business community, and so on, they will also not have you there to explain the details, So it must be as clear as possible when I read this line, So if it starts with selection of practitioners, I think, okay, you'll make a tender and you select people, So why do you need 90,000 for that, And then when I go in the detail of indicators, if I saw there explicitly, for example, software, I mean, it's already there, If you read it very carefully. But yes, that's what I was suggesting. Try to work a little bit more on how indicators are presented. And I have to say, of course, I'm working with the English translation, which is a quick translation, so maybe it's more clear in Georgian, you know, but still, yeah, so that's I was suggesting. Okay, can we go on? Thank you. I see nodding. We have two measures from Ministry of Economic Development or Economy with partners, Statistical Office, Education Ministry, and Ministry of, which in this case is I think labor part of those. That big ministry is the most important one. So it's the research studies. We talked about this first activity already the last time, and we agreed that out of the whole money on the budget line, you only put in the part which is really related for which will really be paid for the study. So you did this, I think, and then for the next year, I see that the research will be a bit broader. So in 21, it's only 2 sectors, then it's full coverage of economic sectors. Do you think it will be enough? 300,000 then for a much broader study? That's my main question, but please. We had quite a discussion about this last time already, but maybe there's something to add. Cisnami or a colleague. Yes, please.
Hello, Janusz.
Hello.
I'm Georgi Gantrolidze.
Oh, I remember you from last time.
Not so hard to call a shepherd return, but on Georgi.
Okay, I will speak in English language.
Thank you.
I will try to explain in details about the provision which is related to the budgeting of 2 surveys. What concerns to our division, we moved from the Ministry of Labor to the Ministry of Economy in 2017. So since then, we are undertaking the different kind of surveys, and so we have some experience regarding the budgeting of the survey. I will give you some examples. For instance, when we are covering the whole economy in our survey, so approximate cost of the survey is in 2017 it was 160K lari, and what concerns to the last survey which we undertook in 2019 and 2020, the price was 275K. Now, what concerns to the approximation of the cost of the survey which we are going to undertake in 2022, it would be more or less 300. And why? We are going to supplement this survey by anticipation tools, which would, from our side, we are thinking that it will increase the price in this term. So from this point of view, it's quite possible to say that approximate price of the survey which we are going to implement in 2022, so it will be in the range of 275K, and from 275K to 300K. So what consists to the 300K is a lump sum, and so we are going to place our budget in this sum. So which means that we have such kind of money which is estimated in our budget in the provision code of 2401/05. Here is some kind of technical mistake in this code, because the correct one is 2401/05. So
okay.
it's like a technical error. So what concerns to the first one, right now, currently we are working on methodology and the questionnaire. So we are finalizing the questionnaire, and in cooperation with Geostat, we will estimate the budget, because as far as you know, we are undertaking our surveys in cooperation with the National Statistical Office. And so we will have discussion about the budget. So they will propose the cost, and more or less it will be in the range from 160 to 170K lari. But I think that since the last year and since the 2017, so we had some kind inflation, prices on some product and services rapidly increased, and so we are waiting for, but we have some kind of estimation that it would be 170K in this term.
Okay, thank you, George. I understand this. Thank you for the good explanation. If there are there any other questions, or from you or from anyone else? No? Okay. So I think it's quite clear, and it's good to hear that you will try to understand this, include these expectations in the study as well. You know, so.
Thank you very much, Janusz.
Yes, thank you. So let's move on now. I mean, we have, yeah. There is a measure from people are already know quite well, the SARAS. My question here is, you know, what is this cost about? Because the activities report submitted by the SMEs, and then the indicator is what percentage of SMEs submit their reports. And I would think the main cost here needs to be carried by the SMEs, but I don't know. So I'm curious to hear what is behind this cost. You know, what is the cost for the agency for the service? I hope we have a representative who can explain a little bit.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
David. Thank you for the question. I'll try to explain it. First of all, I should clarify that this submission rate is not only for SMEs, but for all entities.
Okay.
And the 349,000 lari per year is the budget of our department. As this, the submission rate is our key KPI, so it's our KPI, and mostly all our resources are focused on this KPI. We allocated the budget of our department to this KPI. So this is like general explanation.
But then I think if this is so, then the right way to do it would be to just simply put in the administrative cost instead of the number of your budget, you know, because like we talked before, in some other cases, if this is an activity on which only your staff works and it's paid from your budget of your institution, then you just simply put in the words administrative cost. Yes, so because like this, it looks like this is the additional money you will need to implement this, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. Thank you very much. But I know it's an important activity, and I know it takes a lot of work from you, you know, to help and to get the companies to submit reports. But if it's done by your staff and already in your budget, then just put in administrative cost.
Great.
I see that I see the government administration was nodding as well. So good. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on now. If there are no other questions regarding this. We put here together on one page 3 measures because they are all related to broadband infrastructure. The first and the last one are about actually construction of broadband networks and fiber networks. The second one is design, and it's different from most of other measures because it involves investments. So I thought I don't have very specific questions, but I thought it would be very good to hear for everyone, you know, how you estimate the cost of activity, which is basically investment. So maybe it's Isnami or one of your colleagues can tell us more, if possible.
Unfortunately, today we don't have a representative
Okay.
from the relevant department, but as for this amount of money which is under the state budget, I'm sure that they have this money, and it's agreed with the Ministry of Finance as well. And one additional thing, we have to agree these documents before submitting to the government with Ministry of Finance. So this is stipulated under the budget. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And I think, I mean, from indicators, I will also say one thing about indicators. For indicators, I think it's okay if you say fiber optic infrastructure in at least one area, and you say at least 50 settlements are covered. Because it says to me, this is your minimum target. If you have more resources or if it goes quick, then you'll try to cover more. Why not? You know. But on the other hand, for costing, you need to take 50 or 60, or you cannot cost at least. You see what I mean? So basically, I assume the costing is, I would understand, from this that the costing was made on the assumption of this one geographical area and 50 settlements. So the minimum you want to achieve. And then if you're able to do this very efficiently, then maybe you have money for one more settlement and so on. Or maybe there will be a donor, or maybe things can happen. But just to make it clear, that usually in such cases we do costing based on the minimum target. Yeah, but otherwise, if they are working on this with Ministry of Finance, and I assume there is some investment plan already going on, then it's okay. Okay, so then we can go on now. Please. Okay, again, from Enterprise Georgia, we have the information session for companies, and we have an event, and actually 5 information sessions, it says, and 2 events in the span of 2 years. And I thought this was really low, I wouldn't amazing session with this little money, but please explain.
As budget
these budgets were provided by Global Compact Network together, so it will be, it implies information sessions with our beneficiaries and ding the bell for gender equality. As they explained, this budget comes from that during pandemic, they will be online by Zoom. And in this case, this budget is enough. But also they told me that if the situation changes and they can meet in person, then the budget will change too, but activities will be still held. If the budget changes, what shall we do budget-wise, costing-wise in this strategy? That's my question, if the budget changes.
Yeah, that's a very good question, which is relevant for the whole action plan, because things will change. And let me first say, I mean, for this measure, your explanation is okay. So if it's online, if they told you that it wouldn't cost them more, that's fine. And if they are ready to provide more money, if there is a possibility not to be online, which I think we are all eagerly waiting for, then even better. So you are covered, so to say, so you will be able to implement this. And this is the first thing and the most important thing we check, in costing. Will you be able to implement this? There really a realistic estimation of cost and the money for that. Now, if things change, they will change during implementation. So then, as we said before, you report in the monitoring report on that. So the actual cost, and if needed, you provide some explanation, like costs were higher because it was possible to do it offline in reality. But the additional sources were provided by the Global Compact Network, so no problem, But this is where you do. In some cases,
I understand.
Also, this is now a 2-year action plan. So, and we're already in 21. So it wouldn't make much sense to update it, but sometimes you also update the cost estimates during implementation formally, so you update the action plan. But it's for you to decide whether you maybe whether it's needed. But I wouldn't push for that really, because of the timing. It's more important to get down and implement it, And then on the report, how it was implemented, you will like the same way, like you say, okay, we planned 5 sessions, we had 3 or we had 6. So we report on the indicators and the outputs. You also report on the budget, which was really spent and from whom. And then it's visible. If somebody compares and looks at your reports, then they will understand or they will ask you for explanation. Is that what you were asking? Was I clear? Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I'm switching the translation off and on now all the time because to not to make an echo. So it's a bit, but it's okay. Okay, so let's go on. We have I have 3 slides more. This is a good activity, of course, from Enterprise Georgia. I was just wondering what the indicator is the share of women entrepreneurs which are financed from this program. The target is 50. That's okay. One thing which was not clear to me when I saw this 15 million was whether this is the money which will be directed to prioritization of women, or is this for the whole program? So is this 15? Yes, please.
It's money directed for the whole program, like not just women, but every beneficiary. So should this be cut in half then? Is the question from my side, which is the right way to do this?
It's actually a difficult question also for me, because if it would be if you would have a special incentive for women to join, for example, if you decide that, I don't know, if it was the case that entrepreneurs had to pay some cost of their participation, like accommodation when they come for training, and then you would say, well, if you are a female entrepreneur, you only need to pay half. So then I would say, this subsidizing this half of payment is part of it. But here, my question would be, what will be the specific efforts you will do, to encourage more women to participate in this program? Will there be an information campaign or something like that? Yeah.
Yes, the way we prioritize women in this program is so in the selection program, women are given 1 more point automatically. Okay. That's the way we prioritize women in this program, and that's all the budget. This is like the budget for the grants that will be issued in this program to all the beneficiaries. Therefore, it's. The question is, yes, women will probably receive half of it because
if you reach the target, yeah.
Yes. if we reach, and we probably will, because the program has just been concluded, so the target is more or less reached.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, you know, because you.
როგორ მუშაობს? რა დამატებითი ხარჯები არ არის თითქოს, არა? და მთლიანობაში 15 მილიონია ეს თანხა რა, 15 მილიონი. და თქვენ ამ 15 მილიონს დახარჯავთ ესე გესწორეთ მეწარმეებისათვის ხარდაჭერის პროგრამა და არის რაც პრიორიტეტები სელექციის პროცესში და ეს რა თქმა უნდა ხარჯები იგივეა რა. ანუ ფაქტურად პრიორიტიზაცია ასე ვთქვათ მეწარმეებისათვის რომელზეც ჩემ მიკრო და მცირე.
So on the other hand it sounds stupid to say that we will prioritize, but it will cost you nothing.
Фактурат prioritet
here, then it will look strange.
Yes,
I would maybe, you know, instead of like in some cases you put in administrative cost, I wouldn't say here administrative cost, but I would maybe say from the budget of the program. It's a program, it's a support program. Yes. You know what I mean? So to be, you know, consistent with what we're saying, you know, otherwise to just focus on additional costs. And it would still tell people that, I mean, the indicator already tells that you are making a great effort to reach this parity of 50% of participation. And then, yeah, it also tells me there's already a program going on, you have the budget for it, so fine, you know. You see what I mean? I would propose to go this way, but it's one of these cases when it's also important to talk maybe with SISNAMI or directly with the government administration, what they would also find as most reasonable, or what they do in similar cases with other institutions.
ჩვენ ასეთ შემთხვევაში თქვენის ნებართვით ასეთ კომენტარს გავაკეთებდი აქ, რომ ასეთ შემთხვევაში ჩვენ ყოველთვის ახლა პრიორიტეტებას ვერ გააკეთებ ერევსას თუ კონკრეტულად აი ეს თანხა არა გაქვს.
Possible to prioritize if you don't have amount of money, you know. Well, of course, priorities are women. We're talking about 50%, but 90%, if there are 90% of women, could be. It depends who will be active, who will present better, you know, just plans. So, and therefore, well, in other cases, we always had, you know, indicating the code and amount of money indicated within which we would prioritize them and to give, to empower women. So here, I don't see any problem, frankly speaking, to leave it as it is. While the second direction, you would indicate it that, well, it is an administrative cost. Well, I would, you know, prefer to leave it as it is, if it is up to me to decide, because it's better to know specifically what will be the amount of money within which we will carry out prioritizing, and what will be the percentage, 50%, 60, or, you know, more. Well, the time will show. Thank you. May I comment? Please. So, case for what is activity for us? Well, we will. So the public servants, you know, just will be working on this issue. And of course, prioritizing is very, very important for us. And of course, I don't think, you know, just it should be changed, you know, how it is presented. This activity, well, it is the easiest way. Well, it's, you know, just easy to put the administrative cost, but I think I would agree, you know, just with SISNAMI. Of course, well, there will be some administrative cost, but I don't know, you know, to what extent it is necessary to put it here. Maybe we'll got to make more precise activities. What activities will be provided within this project? There is no problem. Of course, if it will be acceptable for Enterprise Georgia, we can do that. No problem whatsoever. Okay. Administrative cost could be put there. I think, just both approaches are equally good. Well, and we'll decide upon this issue. Some child is crying there. Sorry.
Okay, I mean, it's you said it's not me. If it's for you to decide, it's for you to decide. And it's for the government.
Come on. Yeah. Well, those who are not speaking, please switch off microphones. Some child is crying there.
Some participants got really bored, They started making noises. But look, I mean, for at the end, of course, it's for you to decide what is important. Is the most important thing is how you did it, and everyone understands, including the government, administration, Ministry of Finance, and this is I mean, it's a difficult example, and this is a kind of example that we sometimes do come across, where if you would strictly respect the methodology and say, well, it's really the prioritization is done by awarding more points, so there is no additional costs. Like I said before, compared to having no prioritization, then it would be zero. But that would be strictly on the methodology, and as we all know, accounting doesn't always tell us everything that we would like to tell. And the other part of this is giving the right message or the right presentation of the activity. That's why I said, if you put zeros in here, it would also look. I mean, I would be maybe the first one to say, well, you're prioritizing women like you are, but you're putting no money behind it, So, I mean.
Yes, of
course, there could be some administrative cost. I will talk about the chief, just with the administration, and we'll talk with the representatives of also Enterprise Georgia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. But I'm happy each way you decide, each of the two possibilities you decide for. We have two more. So yes, thank you. So this is also it's from the both agencies actually. The first one is from Enterprise Georgia, the other is from JITA. And it's trainings. Both trainings are related to women, gender equality, and so on. One has a donor, the other one doesn't have a donor, and the first has 20. It's both internal trainings, so trainings of the staff of the agencies. Okay, that's important. And the first activity actually has the target of 20 being trained. The second one has 3 to be trained. The first one has only administrative cost, and the other one has a budget of 40,000, which is provided by UN Women. So, I was curious, maybe we have representatives of the agencies or CISNAMI, maybe, why is there this difference, In one case, you train 20 people with no additional cost. In the other case, you train 3 people with a whole program from UN Women.
Can I
yes, please
speak? Right. So as for Enterprise Georgia, the training is provided by UN Women. It's basic UN online training where you get a certificate at the end of it via email. So the trainings themselves are already pre-made. So there's no additional cost on the side of the donor as well. And there are no costs from our side either. We just have to take the training at the office online. So I just put administrative costs, and I don't know if I didn't know what else to do there. No budget whatsoever, or what?
You're talking about the second activity now, right?
The first one,
The
conduct
first one,
trainings
yeah.
for enterprise Georgia staff on gender equality,
Okay.
gender orientation.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, GS representative as well, and I think
Okay.
explain.
So maybe we can hear, yes, how this JITA activity is different from the other one. Please.
Ani, mikrofoni რომ ჩართო. Ani, არის მის შენი ხმა?
Ani, please switch on microphone. We cannot hear you. Ani. Now we can hear you. Yeah.
So we have this tight collaboration with UN Women since 2019. First, we made a gender audit for our programs, and afterwards we started this collaboration for the staff training, for our tenants trainings and the startups. So, and we counted this amount of money, like this really preliminary one, what we spent and what we are going to spend together with UN Women. So that's why we know the exact budget, more or less the exact budget. But I believe this kind of program is currently conducted in Enterprise Georgia as well. So might be you can also indicate there the budget.
Our gender audit is already done, and as for we just have trainings left. Our strategy is also developed, and therefore the only cost this year is that we are left with are the online trainings, which have no cost on any site. So
yes, I mean, okay. I understand this from Enterprise Georgia. These are trainings which are already prepared, I mean, standardized. It's basically self-learning, if I understand correctly, self-paced learning, as we call it. So there's probably really no additional cost. Now for the JITA, you know, I was just thinking, you know, 40,000 is actually a lot of money. You know, I've seen trainings before for much less money being made. So maybe you can talk again with them. What exactly is included in this money? If there is another activity, maybe just add. Maybe it's not only for trainings. You know, I mean, when you compare it like this, it really looks strange. You know. Now I'm speaking like somebody from Ministry of Finance. You know, I would be asking you a lot. At the end, I would say, okay, if you get this money from outside, what do I care? You know, it's Ministry of Finance, but it has to be done logically. You know, so maybe you can. You said you also said this is a preliminary estimate. You're still talking to them, so you clarify. You know, whether this much is really needed for trainings or for something else, or maybe it can be less, or maybe you can use this money really also for something else. You know. Is it clear, or you want to tell me I don't understand anything? Serious, you know, you can make a comment. No? Okay. Let's see the final slide. I mean, we and then decide how we go on. The final is from I wanted to say it's from tourism. It's actually from the Agency of Protected Areas, but it's related to green and ecotourism, so trail development, and you see, ecotourism infrastructure, building a visitor center. You know, I would just like to hear a little bit more, okay, about the activity, but especially about these empty boxes. You know, how did you come to the number? Where do you think it will be financed from? if we have someone from the agency or the ministry. Yes, please.
NATO is here. Well, from Agency of Protected Areas, Miss NATO.
Thank you, please.
Dobab, Janet.
Can you tell us a little bit more about
this NATO.
Okay. Maybe there is a technical problem because
no, she's here. Miss Nata is here and she will respond to your remark.
Okay. Yeah, now I see her as well.
Can you hear me? Yes, Nata, we're here. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to attend this important meeting. As Mr. Sisnami, I represent Agency of Protecting Areas, and therefore, when it comes to this specific component, well, just ecotourism development is a priority for us indeed, because, well, when it comes to protected areas, is to protect, to preserve, just natural beauty, and to also just attract visitors and tourists. Well, to make sure that they can also share and just see this beauty and better get acquainted with Georgia, and number of aspects needs to be taken into account to develop existing infrastructure, just information centers, just special route, also kind of shelters in case of bad weather, and of course, we have got certain experience how to do that based on our previous experience. And we have got quite detailed action plan, what activities are to be carried out, to achieve this objective. And well, two main directions, which we would do on an annual basis. Of course, this is first of all, just trial development, to make sure that visitors can move freely, that visitors feel, just comfortable, they are protected, and they feel, there are all, signs, necessary signs, all infrastructure units, so that they can enjoy their trip. Well, trial development and this major activity. We have certain experience indeed in this respect. When it comes to budget, it's very difficult, as it was mentioned by previous speakers, under existing conditions, to have very precise budget, lari to lari. It's next to impossible, but approximately, I think it's very realistic figure. The figure you see, based on the market prices, and of course, all this will be broken down in this, it's about 2 lari per meter cost, 2 lari per meter, based on our previous experience. And when it comes to the second component, which is also very important, no less important than the previous one, arrange ecotourism infrastructure, visitor centers. So center which would provide all information to visitors to get all essential information about, surroundings, whereabouts, and then based on this information, the visitor would plan his or her future routes. And here, this budget is also approximate. It's approximately 60, 70,000 lari. We still think more, 70,000 than 60,000 lari. So what I want to say, this amount of money could be used from additional resources from our partner and donor organizations we can attract, and with whom we have enjoyed close cooperation for recent years in terms of development ecotourism in our country. And well, we have very clearly defined activities. So if you have got any additional questions or remarks, I'm at your disposal.
Thank you very much. I think what you said, that the cost per meter of trail, it's actually good, and for such projects also maybe the best, because it would be really difficult. You mentioned a lot of things, shelters and cleaning, and other things, signs, to cost every detail that you will put on the trail. But if you can estimate from your past experience and past expenditures cost per meter, I mean, it's like you do with highways, so why not do it with trails in ecotourism? So for me, it's a good method. And then on the visitor centers, I mean, it's like building a house now, so you're probably estimating the cost, and you will come with the final figure. One thing you will need to do is just to say how much in each year, So you saw before, in each action we have cost per year. Yeah, it's necessary because then you can compare it with the budget. So often it depends. I mean, the center is to be built. The deadline is next year, but you can start this year. And then the trail development, of course, also depends on when, how much money you can have this year and next year. So this is something you will still need to do. But thank you. I mean, I have no other questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. I can also extrapolate on the amount, on the number. In Georgia, we have 20 administrative centers, 93 different protected territories of different categories are united under this in 20 administrative centers according to the regions. And of course, we plan that in each territory we will develop a small infrastructure. Therefore, these figures stem out of the real plan. We minimum undertake to arrange minimum two trails and build 2 visitor centers as minimum. We can make 3, but at least 2 is the minimum. And that's how we got to this amount, this number.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I mean, I would now, yes, please.
I wish you success. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, we are through the measures. We have measures from Ministry of Education as well, but they are not present. And I send my comments and questions to this NAMI, so maybe you can deal with them directly later. Since we have like about 5 minutes, Francesco, maybe I would suggest you close the presentation and we have some time for general questions or discussions. Rushing through.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Yanis. Indeed, we still have 5 minutes. So I would, before closing, I would just invite anyone who's still with us in this meeting, if you have comments or any additional questions on anything we discussed today. We still have a bit of time. I'm keeping an eye on possible raised hands. And as we wait, I would still like to highlight a couple of things from today, which I think went very, very well. I mean, I took some notes throughout the meeting, and I think these are very technical meetings, so but very useful to really improve the quality of the documents we all work on. And I think we did. I mean, there were 3 things I noted. One is that it was still very useful, I found, to clarify some of the classical issues around costing, and specifically what should be considered as administrative costs or indeed as an incremental budget for the action plan. Then, okay, I also saw that we were able to, by discussing this today, we were able to identify some tiny inaccuracies in the document, like for instance, the code of certain source of state budget, which again, I think at the end of the day will have to be accurate in the final document. And then also, I really have to say, I really liked the last point about this fantastically granular information about the 2 lari per meter of trail development. I think it's a very interesting, and I think it's as good as costing goes when you can get down to this accurate estimation of the cost per meter. I think it's very satisfying, I must say. But yeah, so I think it went, we also managed to finish on time. So thanks, Yannis, for accurately estimating the time needed to go over all the measures for today. I don't see any raised hand. So perhaps, Sisnami, maybe I can just leave it up to... Yeah.
Since there are no questions, in the meantime, I looked at the action plan, and when in the activity where we talk about the prioritizing the women, I think it appears a bit different in English translation. So it actually tells the micro and small grants program and prioritizing women in this context. So there will be a program, and in the context of the program, we prioritize women. So will it be more acceptable this way? So after I clarified with the translation, would you still recommend to put it under the administrative cost or budgetaries? So I tried to explain, not just general prioritizing, but implementation of the program and prioritizing as a component of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be more comfortable, because if the description of activity would say it's a program, then the cost of the program, I would expect the cost of the program to be there. But then the point of the activity is, of course, to prioritize women. And it's also shown through the indicator that it's the point. I mean, it's not the point of the activity, the only point, but it's the point of, it's one aspect. And then it will make sense. You're making this program for SMEs. It costs what, 15 million, I think. And then you have an indicator which says 50% of grants go to women. And then in the description you say you're doing something to prioritize them. Okay. So it's not only a target, but it's also the target you're supporting with this how you allocate the points. So then it would be more, I probably wouldn't ask the question now. I would, you know, it sounds a little bit funny sometimes, you know, that this, as Francesco said, these very technical things, and now you're telling me that it's actually described a little bit differently, and then I'm happy, you know, but that's how it often works, you know. And you've seen that, I mean, I was looking for inconsistencies or unclarities all the time, and in most cases I got very good explanations, but that's how it works. I think I would like to join Francesco, you know, I think it's really, if I compare with maybe the first webinar we had, I can see that you've gone a long way forward. And this also cooperation with the government administration today, you know, was very helpful. And it also showed that we all speak the same language in a way, and we all try to do, we understand in the same way how costing should be done. So I have, and with the amount of explanations and information of the actual calculations that ministries have, I have no doubt, you know, like this trail example, you know, or a lot of other examples, you know, I have no doubt that you'll be able to finish this quite good, you know. So you have a good process. And yes, sometimes not everything goes in the Excel format that you are using, like this, you know, per meter. But I mean, it's still helpful. But if it doesn't go into Excel, then you communicate somehow else how you made the calculation, I think. What is important is that it can be checked, that's important. Okay.
Thank you, Yanis. Perhaps, Sisnami, I'll let you to close this meeting because you've been really coordinating all this work. And so, maybe one small request, if you can just highlight the next steps to finalize the action plan, it would be good for everyone to be aware of this. But on our side, I would like to thank everyone for being here today and throughout this process. And also, yeah, of course, the interpreters who are helping us behind the scene with the good delivery of these trainings. But please, Sisnami, I'll let you to close the meeting.
Thank you very much, Francesco. I also join with Francesco, and I want to thank everyone who took part in this meeting today. Of course, the organizers who organized this meeting and who provided immense support all this time. I want to thank very much our expert, Yanis, because costing is a complicated topic, and it was a great opportunity all this time to get his recommendations and focus on details. We just have one outstanding issue on this current meeting, the Ministry of Education, but I think in the previous meetings we have discussed it. And therefore, since we discussed it with the Ministry of Education, I think it's not a great deal. So, our further steps. I can tell you that based on today's meeting, and I also were making notes after I again look through the whole document and to capture what we agreed on today in the action plan. And our future steps related to strategy and action plan, I can tell you that today or tomorrow, we will send the whole paperwork to the Ministry of Finance and expect their response. And the working groups also will get the package of the finalized papers and get their feedback if they have any. Because sometimes even if it is your only your document, you will get a better idea overnight and want to reflect it. But it's a joint paper, and so we expect feedbacks. So, and the finalized version will be sent to the government administration together with the Ministry of Finance, and I think we will keep the deadline because our deadline was the end of June. And I want to note that there was an economic commission meeting with the EU delegation, but I couldn't attend because I was here. But one of my co-workers who was there said that they also discussed this issue, and they are very happy that the strategy paper is ready and is within the deadline. So I wanted to share this with you, that the meeting was held today, and my co-worker sent me a message. So I think everything goes the way it should be going. And once again, I want to thank you very much for today's meeting and for all your help over the years, not only for this project, because we are connected with the years of cooperation. Thank you very much, the organizers, OECD, and all attendants. Thank you very much, and wish you a good day and bright future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.